Hello, ladies and gentlemen, listeners and friends, colleagues. Here we are. We're actually we're on location at the moment. Now, I've got with me today, lovely gentleman, big tall Dutchman. His name is Gerton Hulsman, and he's the MD of Düsseldorf Airport, and he's been there for 12 years. And prior to that, he was Business Development Director for Cologne Bonn, where UPS are well known. And he also attended one of the best universities in the industry, KLM, where he was for 25 years. So, Gerton, lovely to have you on board, my friend. Thank you for coming on board.
Thanks, Chris. By the way, I am MD of Düsseldorf Airport Cargo, not of the airport itself.
I was elevating you there.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hey, they should put you in charge of the whole airport, mate, not
definitely.
just cargo.
Yeah, thank you.
But good man for correcting that.
Yep.
That's great. Now, a question I ask everybody when they come on: why did you agree to come on the podcast?
Well, in the first place, because I know the person, Chris Notte, quite well. You give great confidence, and it would be a nice opportunity to tell something about my experience, what I did in the last 40 years or more. And well, the industry is a vivid one. A lot of things are happening. Even more now when you consider that pharmaceutical logistics is taking a big flight, the temperature-controlled cargo, but also the e-commerce, and lots of things are happening. And one of the things which is not puzzling me, but I'm interested in, to give something of my experience to hopefully the younger ones, boys and girls, young women, young men who want to enroll for a job in this industry. A lot of people say, it's an industry which is a bit old-fashioned.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think we need young people, young blood, to push us forward. And I'm now 65 years of age. I will turn 66 in November. My times are due, not only for work, but I will be retired the 1st of September 2020. And I gladly take the opportunity to tell something about what I did so far, what are my experience, what do I think about the future. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
And no, it's an absolute pleasure. And somebody like yourself, I've known for a long time. You're a lovely man. Honestly, you're one of the nicest men I've met in the industry.
Thank you.
And clearly very popular with the younger members, as the young lady who gave you 3 good luck kisses. So that's a first. We will get back to the story in the lift with the man who passed wind, but we'll save that for if things dip a little and we need a little bit of oomph in the storyline.
Yeah.
Now, the main principle of what we're doing is trying to get to know people behind the positions and also how they got into the industry. So how did you get into the industry?
Well, I enrolled in the Netherlands. I was born close to Amsterdam, and I enrolled secondary school, which was more or less the entry for the university. And when I finished that, when I was 19, I started to enroll for other fancy jobs. For instance, the military academy I tried.
Yeah.
The police academy I tried, but born in 1953, there was either a numerus fixus or a numerus clausus, because that was the baby boom. And now I did some jobs. I did some courses, trainings. And in 1977, and I recall the day that I started with KLM, the 15th of August 1977, my personal number was 8, 3 times 5, and I started in the export department of KLM. And I told many times in the direction of people who wanted to know, for instance, my parents, why did you choose an airline and why did you choose cargo?
Yep.
Because in those days it was more or less you are working in cargo and you could learn so good. But I loved it. And the training, and you said it before, working for KLM was like a university, theory and practical things, experience. And after 3 years I was going into the marketing and sales department, the indoor sales department. In those days we had to deal with freighters, the DC-8 freighters too, and we had heaps of cows and sheep and pigs transported all over the world. Philips illumination things for the streets to all kind of African country. And to be honest, that was such a good feeling, and it was absolutely hard working, because when we wanted to go home at 6 o'clock in the afternoon and the phone was ringing, and there was a Salvation company from Rotterdam, and they said somewhere is a problem with a ship, we need a freighter and we need stuff there. Yeah, you hang up your coat again, and then the next morning at 6 o'clock you went. And that was a great experience, and I loved it.
It is good. I've got to come back there. What was your number? Your staff
8.
number?
No, it was a bit more. I made a mistake. It was 8, 3 times 5, 4.
Isn't it amazing how you remember that?
Yeah.
I started in Lufthansa on the 1st of the 11th, 77. So we started together. 87477C.
Nah.
And I was also in exports. And I remember going through the interview, and at the end of the interview, they told you had a job. And I remember the manager, his name was a guy called Dave Boggis, and he said to me, "You're a bit of a lively young fella." He said, "We'll put you in exports." He said, "We normally put the quiet, intelligent ones in imports." And that's how I ended up in exports. And yourself?
Yeah, export, indoor sales, marketing, and then I was transferred to Frankfurt, Germany.
Yeah.
Because, the saying was, if you want to learn something about the industry, and in those days, Germany was also a very huge export country. So I was stationed there for 3 years. Then they moved me for a short while to Nuremberg. Nuremberg was very in those days, because Siemens was making these kidney stone destroyers. And there was a huge amount of exports to the United States.
Yeah.
And then they transferred me to Madrid, Spain. And
beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful place. In those days, it was very difficult, because it was not so an export country. It was rather an import country. Imports from, in those days already, the Far East and Japan. Export-wise, it was weak on the breast. But I had a great time there, and I was there for 4 years.
Is that where you met your wife?
No, I met her in Frankfurt in those days, before in Germany. And we got married. And in those days, KLM asked me, "Are you living together with your wife, or can we ask you to marry her?" And that was in those days unbelievable. Nowadays, you can't expect people that need to.
No, big changes, and you've seen an awful lot of changes. Now, one of the things that and we haven't had on any of the shows yet is somebody that's actually responsible at an airport for cargo. So how important did and does Düsseldorf hold cargo? What did you do to make people who were in the cargo side of the business feel that the airport was really supporting them?
When I started 12 years ago, and I had the interview with the people, the senior board of Düsseldorf, of course they asked me, "What do you think about Düsseldorf?" Now, I had the experience within KLM in Frankfurt, and in those days, I think we had 8 stations KLM cargo in Germany.
Yeah.
And KLM in those days started with the so-called GER, Germany trucking, so delivery direct to the customer. And Düsseldorf is the capital of North Rhine-Westphalia, and together with Baden-Württemberg and Bavaria, these 3 Bundesstaaten, also federal states, are absolutely top exporters, industrial. And if you reckon that the state of North Rhine-Westphalia is good for some 12% of the total exports of the whole of Germany.
Yep.
So a tremendous amount of cargo. Germany is producing nowadays 4.6, 4.7 million tons of air freight. And there is an estimation that 1.4, 1.5 million tons of air freight is coming from North Rhine-Westphalia. Now take into account that Düsseldorf is only 60 kilometers from the Dutch border, Venlo, and where you see nowadays, but also in the days that I started, a tremendous amount of district centers. That was also important, and we sold also Düsseldorf there as an international airport for the eastern part of Holland. coming back to the potential of North Rhine-Westphalia to the pharma business, more than 17% import and export wise is manufactured in North Rhine-Westphalia. So that is a tremendous amount of pharma cargo of the whole of Germany.
Yeah.
And 53 companies are manufacturing pharma.
Hence the CEIV, yeah?
We enrolled for CEIV. As a matter of fact, we were the first single operator in Germany. We got recertified in March this year. Yeah. And we are very glad with it. And because of the fact that we have so much pharma, and of course in our backyard is Bayer. Maybe it's not the right number of tonnage, but 17,000 tons of air freight on a yearly basis, huge. Yeah. And we wanted to have a chunk of it. And that is the reason why we, in principle, enrolled for CEIV.
And why did you go with CEIV and not an alternative?
Well, that was more or less triggered by the people in Brussels, because Steven Poelmans and Nathan, to my knowledge and in my eyes, they did a great job.
Oh yeah, they're way ahead of themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as an airport, they were conveying the idea of let's do something together. So it's not only the platform persons who are loading the aircraft, but it is the warehouse management, the trucking companies, the forwarders, and that was more or less for us an example of how we wanted it. We started negotiations with forwarders, with truckers, with ramp handlers. Yeah. In Düsseldorf, there are two, Avia Partner and Acciona. And they did not want at that time to join the CEIV. So we did it ourselves. Yeah. We went the whole road ourselves. And to be honest, it was a success. We are known. Düsseldorf is a second-tier airport. I mean, we are the third biggest in Germany after behind Frankfurt and Munich in terms of passengers. But cargo-wise, we are playing our role in the concert. Yep. And we also take the opportunity to organize congresses, small congresses. Last week we had a small congress with a forwarder specialized in pharmaceutical handling and a bio company. And that is that has nothing to do with running a handling company, but that is spreading the world how we can do something better for the industry and how to make it more attractive for young people to jump on this.
Right, so wagon. If you just say that from right, obviously you like myself, we've been around for a long time. Yep. Now, all the things that you've seen happen and the changes, okay, what do you think are the biggest, most positive changes that have happened in the last 10, 15 years? And especially as somebody who's promoting cargo at an airport. I
think the last, as you say, 15 years, we are more open. Because I am 65, but there are also a lot of managers now who are 40 or 35. And I think the threshold of not sharing your knowledge, not sharing your experience is fading slowly but surely away. And we discussed it today. The worst thing you can do is having fear of sharing your knowledge.
Of course, yeah, it's crazy, huh?
And it is crazy, and I do not... Absolutely, I cannot understand that you do not take somebody under the arm and say, okay, learn something. Okay, there is also a tendency that youngsters say, or young people say, I have the right on my own mistakes. Yeah. You are. But my time is done. I served 40 years, more than 40 years. So I do not have any problem. I do not have any threshold to give all my knowledge to people who want it, and most probably, and that is what I hope, do something with it.
And don't you think it's a shame that there isn't some sort of a bridge mechanism that allows youngsters to team up or to shadow up with somebody who's getting ready to leave full-time employment? And like you said, of course, everybody, it's like having kids. They have to make their own mistakes. You can give them so much guidance, but everybody has to make their own mistakes. But the point is, you don't want people to make too many mistakes. So if there was a bridge and there was a way of just passing that information over and a proper industry-backed concept that teamed people up, it can only be good.
The initiative of TIACA was something like that they take youngsters at some place in the world, like the east coast of the United States, working for a handling company, and they want to get some experience of an exporter or a trucker in Germany or in Singapore or whatever, and that you make a system that people can, of course you have to subsidize it and you have it costs money, but that is one of the things, and that initiative taken by TIACA was, I think, a very good one, or is a good one, that you share your things. And the bridge where you are talking about, the initiative of the airport, the airport of Düsseldorf, not cargo, they also now give the opportunity that youngsters who are having partly the theory and partly the practical system, which is in Germany a good thing, that they give these young people an opportunity to look into the kitchen, to listen to people, and yes, of course, a part of the shared experience and knowledge you have to write down, and you have to do something with it, like an incubator. But it starts with transparency. It starts with openness, and it is absolutely a wrong thing that older people are afraid, anxious to share knowledge.
But that's what it is. It's a fear factor from some people, and also from the younger guys coming in, or girls coming in. It's almost like they don't want to ask for that support or help, as if it's something wrong that somebody's showing you or telling you. And there needs to be a lot more openness. Now, what's the biggest mistake you've made in the last 10 to 15 years?
Convincing senior management that also in bad times, so in depressions,
as we are,
you must not forget to invest. Because what I learned, and that is not criticism, because it boils all down to money, return on investment, etc.
That's the way the world runs.
But we also know, and I mean, you are 60, I'm 65. I saw 4 depressions. I saw it at the end of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2008. And I absolutely refrain from accepting that we are now diving again into a recession which would take 5, 6, 7 years. Looking to the German economy, and
we
reckon
spoke about that.
You read papers. They are now going into the third quarter of no negative growth, so there might be a recession. And of course, you don't have to close your eyes on such a development. And of course, the car manufacturing, the automotive industry is having a big problem. Not the pharma industry, by the way. But
that's because of people like us. We're getting older and older, and we need all the pills to keep us going.
Exactly. But I absolutely think that there will be a recession for maybe a year or whatever, but it will recover and we will come out better. And that counts also for the German car manufacturing. Yeah, who am I? But yes, the electrical part or the electric car manufacturing, that might be a bit late. They were a bit retarded. But if you look to the new developments, and I'm a keen reader of all these articles because I'm enjoying to read it. The Economist, the Spiegel, whatever. The hydrogen cars. I mean, in that development, I think the Germans will have, and I hope they will, with the knowledge and the technology which they already sampled 40 years ago, BMW. And it was in those days, it was far too expensive, and it is still now too expensive. But hydrogen versus electric, when that might be more positive for hydrogen, I think the Germans will have absolutely a good card in the hand.
As long as they don't make the same mistake as I did. I said nitrogen.
Oh, nitrogen? No, it's hydrogen.
Yeah.
Wasserstoff.
Yeah. So, but now getting back to the pressures. Now, obviously, in your airport, you've got all the problems with the ones that have already happened. Air Berlin. Now you got poor Thomas Cook, and then you got TUI, not exactly in the greatest of health, and you got Norwegian with the 737 MAX issues and also the finance issues. I mean, it's an awful lot of influencing factors that you've really got no control over. So how do you deal with all of that?
Yeah, true. We start with Air Berlin for 2 years. It was the biggest, the second biggest airline in Germany behind Lufthansa. They used Düsseldorf as their hub. Okay, Berlin was also in focus, but due to the problems there with the new airport. And they went bust. Now, taking into consideration that Etihad had 31% or 30.5% of the shares, and consequently also operated the second daily flight to Abu Dhabi, that also instantly broke away. So it was not only Berlin, but it was also the onloads for Etihad, Serbia. Being a one world partner, also American Airlines operating in those days, and IAG, that fell all off. On top, Berlin came Germania. You did not mention it. Now we have the problem with Thomas Cook. TUI Fly is going to have a lot of problems. Norwegian, as you mentioned. That is absolutely a big problem. And how to recuperate from it, that was more or less a hope that Eurowings, the low-coster of Lufthansa, took over on par, we hoped, the number of intercontinental flights to, for instance, the United States, East and West Coast, Central America, Caribbean, and a lot of European continental flights. Now, what happened is that the intercontinental flights from Eurowings were not on par with the destinations Air Berlin served. The onloads were a bit less than what Air Berlin loaded on board their aircraft. And what came to it is that of the total tonnage Air Berlin had with us, 30% was European cargo, which they loaded on the narrow bodies. And Eurowings is not loading 1 kilo of cargo on board their European flight. So all in all, the airport of Düsseldorf, the cargo, we lost about 35% of the total tonnage. Now, how do you recuperate from that? And that is absolutely a difficult thing.
Oh, it's huge.
Because new airlines, now take into consideration that Qatar Airways is received the green light to come into the EU. So most probably they will operate to a city like Düsseldorf because it's an industrial area and 650,000 people. And as Düsseldorf is often mentioned, it is the second biggest airport of the Netherlands because it's so close to the border. But not more than that. We tried to make airlines attractive for cargo, freighters. We used to have freighters in the days that Atlas was operating, Emirates with Atlas equipment, to Düsseldorf with sea air traffic, Esprit, wearing apparel mainly. But that stopped because, that was reduced. It was based on the fact that all these shipping companies from the Far East, they went to Dubai, came there at the end of the week. Then it was partly rebuilt on aircraft pallets, and it flew on Sunday when there was not that much cargo. They flew it to Düsseldorf. And sometimes 3, 4, 5 over a weekend. So it was fairly good business in the freighter business. Then all these shipping lines, they changed their schedules, so arriving midweek. So then they had to fly on Friday, and then in this case Emirates said, no, then the price will be different. And that was then the reason that it stopped. On top, the onloads on freight-friendly passenger aircraft like the A350 and the 787 and the 777, that is a huge capacity. So that came to a stop.
Exactly.
We are still, Chris, having opportunities and possibilities. We have the equipment, we have trained people to handle freighters. we are restricted as far as our opening hours. We are closed for the night. And the development of cargo airports like Liège, even Maastricht now, we can't top that.
No limitations, exactly.
We can't top it. So we have to rely on our onloads or belly cargo. And what I want to share with you as a part of what we did to recuperate a bit of the loss, we try to attract truck business. For airlines who are not operating into Düsseldorf, so that we can handle the cargo and then tow or truck it to Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Munich. That is one of the things. And we are also discussing drop stations for Düsseldorf drop station for instance, Liège or for Brussels or whatever.
Now all those things make sense. But coming back now to the general principle of when things start going bad in our industry, people do tend to take the foot off and start to panic a little bit, and they stop all the good stuff. And training, leaner, looking more at how you can improve things, being a little bit more innovative, and now also maybe being a little bit more restrictive. So if you look at the e-commerce business, and lithium batteries is again a big issue, and should you or should you not be accepting it in second-hand equipment, and all sorts of problems now with lithium batteries. So as an airport and a reputation, how are you dealing with the e-commerce side and those hidden devils within the shipments?
We in the past few, I think, 12 months, we had a lot of questions about e-commerce. Of course, from the Far East, but also from the United States, from Japan, because Düsseldorf has the biggest Japanese, or one of the biggest Japanese communities outside Japan, so these people wanted a lot buying in Japan and getting it in Düsseldorf. All Nippon Airways, that's one of the reasons that they fly daily.
Hopefully they're all watching the rugby.
I beg your pardon?
I said hopefully they're all watching the rugby.
Yeah. We had a lot of questions with e-commerce, and I must tell you that we had also problems with customs.
Yep.
Because like what the people in Amsterdam do, they saddle up a new e-commerce handling system in 4 weeks of time. Now that is not the case in Germany. We had to first prepare our discussions with customs, because one aerobill can have 5,000 consignees. And we had a discussion with the head of the customs, a very nice person, very open-minded. And he said, one aerobill, one document, 5,000 consignees? Yes. He said, is this on a yearly basis? I said, no, that is only one aerobill. Most probably you have 10.
Yeah.
So, and then coming from a very old world, putting name, the item, and the value, I think by heart, less than 24 euros. That's on an Excel sheet.
Yep.
So he said, then we have to check 25,000 consignees? I said, yes. But the first reaction of this person was, we can't do that. And then we explained him, and we showed him how it is done on other airports.
Yep.
And these people were more or less all looking into the old world, because in the old world you had the AV7, for instance, the postal, the mail document, and then it is called nowadays CN38.
Yeah.
But we are in Düsseldorf not having a mail facility. In the old days, every airport had a mail facilities, and it is now only Berlin and Frankfurt. So we said, no, it's coming on an aerobill. And then the question was raised, what's in it? We do not have proof, so you have to have at random checks.
Yep.
You can't check them all, but that is what happens all around the globe. So why don't you do it in Düsseldorf? So finally, he accepted it, or the customs office accepted it, and so far, and that is the strange thing, we discussed this with 4 or 5 parties from the Netherlands, from Germany, from Turkey, and so far it did not start. So weird, but as a matter of fact, it is almost zero what we receive on e-commerce shipments
really
in Düsseldorf. Yeah.
That's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also goes to show that for as much as people talk about e-commerce, there's so much of the business doesn't actually know how to handle it or what's involved in it or even where it is.
Exactly.
Which is a big shame. And it's also a big risk.
What I want to share with you is that we also, without mentioning the name here, but we talk to big ones, very big ones. And you know there are two very big ones in the world. And one of them, they talked to us and they said, okay, we want to start with 2 small freighters and then we want to extend the business. But then another hampering issue comes because when Air Berlin went bust and the others reducing, the airport itself, senior management, the board, they talked to the low costers, the Lauda Airs, and with Lauda Air came Ryanair, etc., etc. So they did a great job because this year, 2019, they will arrive again close to 25 million passengers on a yearly basis.
Yeah, which is successful.
Which is a
the airport. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's super, and there is also good money made. The only thing is that cargo is lacking behind. And in 2017, we had one of the best years we had. We had some 121,000 tons of air freight. I mean, our shed is 12,000 square meters. So it was a fair amount of cargo going through this facility. 80% flown, 20% trucked. Yeah, and that dried up. And there is not coming again a sort of an Air Berlin. So we have to count on mixed carriers like the ones we are handling.
Yep.
We have 34 airlines under contract. So that's a big deal. Big ones, Lufthansa, of course, Emirates, Etihad, IAG, Aeroflot, the ones who take cargo. We are hoping that in the coming...
But it's also an opportunity with, so many airports now, they've got slot limitations and other problems. So
that is what
you have to now repackage yourselves
because if you see the plan board, it is all red.
Yeah.
There is no green, and maybe there is a yellow one, but then the question is a carrier coming on that time of the day?
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. The slots are gone, and we have to deal with it right now.
Yep.
That was also the reason that we embarked for that road feeder service. Mainly.
To offer alternatives. Now, let me ask you something a bit about yourself now. How do you spend what do you do in your spare time? I know you've got a dog, so that's what keeps you fit, and you've also bought yourself a new bike. Yeah,
it was not. It is always be a bicycle. I'm still part of a group. I'm over the week living in close to Düsseldorf, and my wife and we bought a house in Belgium, which is I could commute there every day, but due to the traffic jams, and. I am a cyclist on a racing bike already for years. I'm an old bugger now, 65, but I'm doing still 120 kilometers on a Saturday morning. Some Germans always say, and there, where do you sleep? I said, nowhere, because we start at 7:30 in the morning, and at 1,300 hours, 1,400 hours, we are back and sitting on sipping beer. But I bought a motorbike, and it would please you. One of the first trips is around beautiful Ireland.
Beautiful, yeah.
With the Shamrock and British Cross and
the
Guinness
black stuff, yeah.
And the Guinness. I did it, by the way, also on a bicycle, the Bear Way, and the Ring of Kerry, and from Cork to Clonmel. Believe it or not.
That's a hell of a ride, huh?
Yeah, and then the next trip will be the North 500, Scotland, North Cape, and the west coast of Spain. So there is a lot to do. We have a dog, a lab, a brown lab. My wife is having her own little company. She's traveling a lot. We have a garden, so I can also cut the roses.
Yeah.
Mow the lawn. And, if possible, share a bit of my, meanwhile, big experience to youngsters.
That's one of the most important things. Now, let me ask you something else now. If I was to ask your wife, if I was to ask Adriana, what is the music that makes you get up and dance, no matter where you are or what would it be?
Yeah, I did not inform you about the fact that since 2 months I also take again alt sax lessons, and my favorite music is Miles Davis, and preferably when it is raining.
Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Why'd you like him?
Well, I like jazz.
Yeah.
The business partner of my wife, he is from Hastings. Now, apart from the fact that Hastings is a fishery village, and they tow the boats on the beach, there is no harbor, so they tow them always on the beach. But there is another thing famous in Hastings, and those are the gigs, the jazz gigs. And he took me. He's a trombone player.
Yeah.
And well, I played when I was still having hair, and I was blonde, by the way. And I was playing a saxophone, but then enrolling, working for KLM, and that was.
But that's not something that would make you want to get up out of a chair and dance, is it?
Oh yeah, really? I mean, no, okay. But if you are joining a gig, and you have jam sessions, now that's is something else.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. But what I'm saying is, what is it? What sort of music do you like that makes you feel like a youngster again?
I come to the roots of my wife, Spanish. The Miami Sound Machine.
Oh, Glory Restavan.
Yeah. Oye, como va, or something like that.
Yeah, okay. All right, fair dues. And do you read?
Yeah, a lot.
What do you read?
The industry, the press, the industry press. And I will enroll at the University of Eindhoven when I'm not working anymore for philosophy. And you can do that as an older person, so you can enroll for lectures on a monthly basis for 4 times. And I'm interested in that. Things pertaining to life, Chris.
Yeah. No, it's always good to find out more, no matter how old you are.
65.
Yeah. Now, what do you think the next 3 to 5 years holds for the industry?
Coming back to the issue what we discussed, we are not in anymore. We have over 40 years we have sampled experience, and young people, left or right, need to take it over. But you have to make it tasty. I do not say sexy, because that's
a silly word.
Yeah, but you have to make it tasty.
Yeah.
And give people a good chance of developing and use their brains. And then, I mean, look at air freight, look at e-freight. I mean, we are still transporting, I think, 14, 15 747s full with paper. And it's only the air we build. And I recall that Henny Essenberg, KLM in those days, and he was also the general manager of KLM UK. He said I think in 1997, we go for a paperless world. 1997. Yeah. Now, if you now talk to IATA, these people talk about on a worldwide level it's about 55%, but there are still countries which it's not existing.
Yeah, but I'm a big believer. I mean, all this reluctance to change and modernise. There's always other reasons as to why they don't want to do it, and somebody somewhere has got to say, right, enough's enough. This is what we're going to do from such and such a time.
But shouldn't that have been done already?
Of course it should. Lots of things should have been done already, but it needs to be done.
And the push is by young people. They are very well educated.
Exactly. They can take the baton on now and push it forward. I think it's really important. Now, as far as like we're talking about getting youngsters into the business, why would you, if you were having to do an advert now and recruit people, what would your main message be to them as to why they should come into this industry?
A job for the future. An opportunity to enroll for the future. because air cargo will exist in 100 years from now as well. Different styles, different forms, different ways of communicating the data.
Yeah.
And it is an international world, because sorry, people like me, the opportunity within KLM.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to fly to Toronto. We had the opportunity to fly to Japan. We had the opportunity to go to Africa. That is still the same. I mean, that did not change anymore. So you can enroll for an office job from 9 to 5, or step into an exciting world of logistics or airline business or whatever. Interesting business, because my experience is when I talk to people, and then, no, there are not a birthday party, but when people come to me without having any knowledge of our business, and I give them a cup of coffee or tea or water or whatever, and I tell them something, then the first thing is, yeah, but this is a very dry world. Hey? I mean, absolutely not interesting. And you walk with these people through a warehouse.
Yeah.
And you show them through this warehouse more than almost €1 billion as far as value of merchandise is going through. Huh?
Yep.
Recently, I told somebody, do you see this pallet? Yeah, it's 2 to 5, pharma, buyer. Do you know what the value is, what is on this pallet, the lower decker? 1.7 million euros. 1.7 million euros. So then it starts all of a sudden,
appreciation
to kickstart.
Of, yeah.
And take the isotopes. I mean, we need them for cancer treatment or for diagnosis. Now, who is going to transport that? And then when you come to people and you say, okay, this is part of what we transport. 0.5% to 2% is air freight of all modalities. But this small amount of percentage is 38% or 35% of the value.
But you not think we have to spend time making it interesting and letting people see the full transparency of everything that we touch and everything that we influence? And that it just doesn't happen properly.
But we need to take the time for it.
Exactly. We, IATA, the whole industry. Yep. Otherwise, we're not. And all this talk is silly. How can cargo be sexy, for God's sake? You know what I'm saying? We've got to use different terminology and modern terminology, but we've got to make it more interesting and transparent for people to see what an incredible business it is.
It might be an idea from, for instance, a body like IATA or TIACA to sample a bunch of older people who got a lot of information from the past and have them have workshops or just road shows and tell them something. Why do universities sometimes do this? In Germany, that is a given thing that a lot of universities do have older people who share their knowledge.
Yeah,
and they do it on a volunteer.
We could call it the grey road show.
The grey, yeah.
But we should do something like that.
And then I'm coming with my motorbike with a leather jacket.
I'll turn up with a leather jacket and a motorbikes, yeah, bungee cords hanging off them.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, but also the thing is, I mean, just because people are older in age, it's also a release, because you don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? You say what you need to say. You do what you want to do. You're genuine or you're not genuine. It's a way of putting it across, and I think that's not a bad idea. You know. Getting a load of grey old fogies to start telling people, look, you have got an opportunity you will never forget, you will never regret, and it's something that if you take it and engage in it, you can have a career, and you can have a career anywhere in the world. But you said about how many places you've been. So thankfully to KLM, myself with Lufthansa, I worked and visited all over the world. Yep. And I never ever thought when I was sitting in a classroom that I'd be doing things like that and living in different countries. And it's been an incredible journey. But to give that opportunity to youngsters now, it has to be sold in a different way. So maybe we have to instead of what was that, Sons of Anarchy? Yeah, we can be old men of whatever it is, and we can do something. It'd be good.
And what I want to comment to it as well, the older people do not have to do it and refrain from being arrogant, because respect young people, respect also that they come with ideas which we come to change.
Exactly.
So it's a mingling of...
Exactly, and it's so lovely to see people come up with a great idea, and if you can then encourage it and endorse it and manifest it, it's a great...
like Baruch Spinoza said, no matter how thick the slice is, it has two sides.
I'll have to remember that one. Who said that?
Baruch Spinoza.
Who did he play for?
Ajax.
No, very good, very good. So now, just to finish, what I normally do is I try and come up with a title for a book for somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so your one, I've put My Airport from Bike to University, 65 but still young.
Absolutely.
And I'm seriously, you are, every time I see you, you're always a very, very smiley, happy man, and you're a great company. It's been a pleasure having you on board. Okay, really enjoyable, and look forward to spending some time with you over the next couple of days. Before I finish, you were at today's session, yeah?
On the Cold Chain Association, the pharma.
Yeah, what impressed you the most today?
Today it was a very vivid meeting. And what I like, and I copied that a bit from the Americans, the high reactors. Normally because they are native speakers like you are high reactors. But today...
I have to remember that as well.
Sorry?
I have to remember that as well. I'll tell the missus when I get home.
Okay.
I'm a high reactor.
But today, I mean, the Cold Chain Association, looking into the program today, who is presenting, who is discussing, who is taking the lead, how it is accepted that you give criticism.
Yep.
And today, and Stavros, the chairman, he said today it is again one of the best pharmaceutical conferences we had because of the reactions of people. And then when you get reactions, then you get food for thought, and then you can improve the industry.
Radika Battery, the doctor, yeah? Every infant matters. Good?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember last week there was on the Belgian radio, there was a story of a baby, 6-year-old, and she needed a medicine which cost 1.9 million euros, and it was not paid by
My God.
the health insurance, and the manufacturer wouldn't give it for free. So the parents, young parents, they started text messages, and every text message was 2 euros. And they got 90,000 text messages in no time. So they had the money. Now that has nothing to do with what I want to do as far as philosophy concerns. But the philosophy is, and I was raised, religious. If it is one person you can save or 100,000, where's the difference? And I said it also to Dr. Battery. I said, the question is, of course, is it all going about money? Because every doctor
has a chance to do something.
The Hippocrates thing. And of course I understand that we have to earn money. But there was more or less a tale of the story in Brussels, because, or in Belgium. They started to say it was only one child who was having this disease. But it's not true. It is 40 Belgian people on a yearly basis who are diagnosed with this disease. And don't ask me what kind of a disease.
Yeah.
But if you extend it to the whole world, 1.9 million for this medicine, divided over 40,000 people on a yearly basis, then it will still be something where they can make money with. But sometimes I have the feeling, and that is, and please don't think that I'm a communist or whatever. Not at all. Far from that. But there must be something like fighting inequality, and these kind of things that has a nasty smell, and we have to do something with it. Because
I think if there's a solution for something and the solution isn't given or done, that's a terrible thing.
Yep. Yep.
And as parents, as family, as friends, you can never ever get over that, knowing that something could have been done, but a financial barrier prevented it. It's a terrible situation.
Yeah. And the company who made it and doing the research, they knew that this should be or would be a product which is hardly affordable. So why then do you start with it? Or are you waiting for the tycoons who have a lot of money and have children with this disease? So
yeah. Now there's always difficult ways of looking at things like that. But I think, I'm saying, if something needs to be done and there's a solution for it, it's a crying shame if it's not done. Terrible.
And what I want to comment maybe as a final, as far as pharma concerns, and I said it many times, and maybe it's too simple, but everybody as a stakeholder makes a pearl. Everybody says, "Oh, my trucks are the best, and my handling system is the best, and I have the best thermodollies, and I have the best GDP systems, and I have the best SOP." So we are all making pearls, but we refrain from making a necklace out of it.
Hey, that's a good one. Maybe I should change the book. The 65-year-old man who's still looking for a pearl necklace. Hey?
Yeah, food for thought.
That would attract a different reader, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you're right. It's a big shame.
Yep.
It's a big shame.
Yep.
So you're staying around for the rest of the conference?
Absolutely.
Yep, good. Well, we look forward to seeing you. And as always, it's a pleasure. So thank you very, very much indeed.
I have to thank you. Reciprocal to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.